Yes, Rajdeep. Firstly, let me clarify. I'm not here today as the Trinamool Congress spokesperson and member of parliament. I'm here today in my capacity, as a quiz master and author.
That's particularly worrying. Particularly worrying. Politicians should stand up and say you're here as a politician. Why is it that political parties are unwilling to take a stand?
I am quite willing to take a stance, and that's why I love being in the party I am.
Yes.
Because my party hasn't decided on this.
Okay.
But my leader has given people like me and everyone else in the party.
Okay.
Because this is an old thing for me. In 2006.
Yes.
That was when I was only 3 years in Trinamool. And that time I did remember telling Mohammad Adi that I'm signing this document in 2006 along with Vikram Seth and Amartya Sen and everyone who signed this. Because I'm a strong believer in LGBT rights. Strong believer. So I signed that in 2006. My position has been unchanged.
Yes.
And it's also not changed today. But what I fear, Rajdeep, we are in a minority. Because today, what the lady on your panel was saying quite correctly was that it's gone back maybe 100 years, because I can tell you from my gut feel, this ain't going to pass in Parliament. At least in the next 10, 15 years, I don't see that happening. I was very hopeful this morning, and in fact I thought maybe yesterday was a better day to deliver a good judgment because it was UN Human Rights Day.
You're saying Parliament will not pass this? You're saying Parliament will not pass a law which will decriminalize homosexuality. Why? Are they scared? Are they scared of of a backlash, or do they believe they're in the minority?
It's my gut feel. Talking to people, understanding, trying to understand what their views are, the large majority view. I think this is and actually it's also difficult for me.
Yes.
It's also difficult for me to I'm expressing myself so openly, and I know Father Dominic, who's a friend of mine, is there.
Yes.
I'm also a practicing Catholic.
Yes.
And I'm serious about my faith. I'm serious about my faith, and I'm a disciplined practicing Catholic.
Yes.
But I do have an issue. With the church in the way I like the word Father used. Respect gay rights is good, but on equality, I do have an issue with the church. I mean, I'm not fighting with the church, but I have an issue with the church.
Rendell Rodrigues is also a Catholic.
I'm going to come back to this question of notions of equality, because Father, at one level you're calling it unnatural, at another level you're saying you respect them. So the two don't seem to work together. You can't say something is unnatural and say at the same time we respect them. Somewhere there is a deep disrespect for someone who is a homosexual. You're effectively telling him you're unnatural.
No, that's how you are understanding it, or those may be listening to you may understand. But
I'm only going by what you said to us.
Yeah, I'm saying exactly the same thing.
Okay, Parmesh Shahani, author of Gay Bombay. We've seen gay groups today agitate on part of the country. Do you believe you're simply not a large enough constituency? Derek O'Brien saying today he believes it's unlikely that Parliament will pass a law that will decriminalize homosexuality. Do you feel you're not a vote bank? Do you believe that your cause at the end of the day is a minority cause? Do you fear that today?
No, on the contrary, I actually feel that the Supreme Court judgment is very, very, very bleak, not just for India's gay citizens, but for all citizens. Because the moment you deny one section of your citizens equal rights, you're denying every other section of your citizens equal rights. So I don't think it's about being LGBT people being a minority. In fact, what has happened after the judgment, if you see online, if you see all the streets, is that LGBT people, straight people, families, everyone has come out in protest saying that, these are our rights as citizens, not based on your sexuality or your gender or your orientation. So I don't think of LGBT, I don't think of the issue or the judgment merely within the framework of LGBT rights. I look at it within the framework of human rights, of citizenship, exactly within the framework that the 2009 Delhi High Court judgment ruled positively. And for the Supreme Court to come out and actually counter that is deeply saddening and deeply disappointing, not just for LGBT people, but for all the citizens of this country.
The worry, of course, Nandita Das, and this is a point that I've been raising, is that will it be seen as there will be protests on the street, there are protests on social media, but at the end of the day, will there be this dominant conservative mindset which believes that the notion of family, as Father now is openly admitting, could be in some way affected, and therefore they will raise this bogey and therefore prevent the entire issue from reaching its logical conclusion. The window of opportunity thrown up by the High Court is being rapidly closed as a result of what the Supreme Court has done. Do you see hope looking ahead, going into the future?
I had also maintained that...
Just a minute, Father, just a minute.
Absolute.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, is it for me?
Yes, go ahead, Nandita.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I think, in fact, the silver lining to all of this is that it has pushed this debate back into the public space, because whether we have the best of laws, which are needed, but finally it's about the mindset. I mean, what happened in 96, or 98 rather, when fire came out? It again, people were on the streets, etc. But the best thing was there was public debate around this issue. And yet today, after 16 years, we are still talking about the same thing. We're still talking about the so-called family values. We're still talking about what is normal and what is not normal. So it's such a deep-seated prejudice. And that's why even to expect these judges, like you said in your introduction, that they should rise above their biases and prejudices, I don't think humanly almost it's possible. And I think the greater need is for people who are in these important roles in society, who are opinion leaders, who are decision makers. It's important that our education system, our whole upbringing, educates us about these things, and they actually become more liberal people, because they are taking decisions for a large number of people. So I think the fact that there will be a lot of public debate is a fantastic thing, because that's what we really need, which will push hopefully the parliamentarians and put pressure on them. So I think in a way all this churning that is happening is probably all for the good.
But Amol Palekar, is the real change needed in mindsets? That, the real battle will not be fought in courts, it will not be fought in parliament, it will have to be fought with mindsets. There are people still today who see gay sex as unnatural sex, who believe that the notion of gay marriage is against, in a sense, tradition, who will simply not accept a person's sexuality which is in some way different from their own. Do you believe the mindset has to change? Laws cannot alone change it. Mindsets will have to change, and then the law will probably change in this case.
Yes, Rajdeep, I fully agree with you. And I would just like to, when I made a film called Quest, way back in 2006, and incidentally, it also won the national award. But in that, I have raised a few questions. I would like to just repeat those questions. That why do we react so vehemently? Why is our homophobia full of hatred and violence? Is it because their choices are different from ours? Or because their sexual preference is not in conformity with that of the majority? Is it a war between majority and minority? Is it a sheer game of numbers? All these questions which I had raised in my film are still, we need to address them, and we need to, as you very nicely and rightly said, and as Nandita also said, that if we keep on going back to ABCD all the time, after all these years, then why are we talking of being progressive?
That's precisely this majority-minority division, as if the majority view on all instances should operate. 50 years ago, when it came to Dalit rights, when it came to the Dalit woman taking water from the well, there were Hindu traditionalists at the time who saw that as is in some way unacceptable, against the scriptures. I mean, surely society's father have to change and progress, and at the heart of the progress has to be a citizen. Has the rights of that citizen, father. Today what the court has done is denied the rights of a citizen to allow him to practice his life as he or she wishes to do so.
You're talking about majority-minority. It seems on this program, I am the minority. The rest all seem to be supporting one view that the judgment was wrong, etc. So who is majority, who is minority is one thing. Secondly, the Dalit Christians as a minority community have been fighting for last 63 years for their right to be recognized as Dalits. And today we had huge rally, Archbishop was arrested and nuns were beaten up. Excuse me.
Why can't a gay have the same rights to have his voice heard? That a Dalit, it took a Baba Sahib Ambedkar for the Dalits to have their voice heard in this country. Why can't the same voices be there? And at the heart of Baba Sahib Ambedkar's argument was Article 14, Article 15 and Article 21, which the High Court reiterated, the notion of constitutional morality, father.
Rajdeep, in my opening remarks, I said that the church accepts these people with respect and even a hint of discrimination against homosexuals or people with that orientation have to be avoided. And the church also says that having homosexual orientation by itself is not wrong. What is wrong and sinful is engaging in homosexual activity. But let me also...
this word sinful. No. So just, Father, hold on. Father, for a minute. Because I've got other panelists. You made a word, you used the word sinful. I want this word once and for all settled. Anjali Gopalan, you want to... Father, just a minute. Just a minute, Father. I'll come back to you. This word sinful. This word sinful which is used, does that trouble you, Anjali Gopalan? Is that at the heart of this debate in a sense? That there is something sinful in a sense which is associated with gay love?
Oh, of course, yes. It only is all about that, right? It's challenging the norm. Yes. You have to learn to accept what is different. It is seen as wrong in the eyes of certain people, certain groups, because they don't know any better, for God's sakes. I mean, you can't say that you respect them, but indulging in homosexual acts is wrong. What does that mean?
Even heterosexual acts are wrong outside of marriage.
Who they are, basically.
That's what Rajdeep was not allowing me to speak. I wanted to complete that sentence, that outside of marriage, regardless of whether it's a homosexual or heterosexual relationships, are wrong. And this is the church's position. And that's what I would like to complete. So sinful, don't say that this world is without sin. Don't think that this world is without sin. And if you're trying to cover up sin under carpet, please wake up. Please wake up. Don't try to deny the existence of sin and wrong in this country or in this world.
Okay, well, 1 minute.
No, it's sin and wrong for you, Father. It's not sin and wrong for me.
Of course.
Right. Indira Jaising, you want to step in. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, I do. Rajdeep, first I want to assure Father that we need not worry about creation in this country. We are a billion-plus population over here. Secondly, I'd like to ask you a question about what
not about this country. No, Indira ji, we are not talking about this country or that country. We are talking about the principle.
Can we move
the
on,
moral
please?
principle and the natural order.
Go ahead.
Another question for you.
Yes, Ms. Jaising, go ahead.
Yeah, Rajdeep, I have another question for Father on the question of sinful.
Yes.
Please ask him, has the church ever stood up to demand that rape within marriage of women must be declared sinful, that it must be declared unlawful? I don't understand all this talk about sin. For me, anything that is non-consensual is sinful.
Right.
And rape within marriage when it's non-consensual is sinful. But sex within two consenting adults, even if they happen to be homosexuals, cannot be sinful. I'd like to know what he'd like to say about that. Secondly, when you talk about changing mindsets, Rajdeep, I would say it's the mindset of the judiciary that needs to change. Whose mindset are we talking about? I think society has moved on. I think what we are seeing here, Rajdeep, I hate to do it, but I have to bring in the case of the young intern who was sexually molested by a judge. I mean, what is happening to the judges of this country is my question. Are we seeing here some kind of split personalities in our judges who can give very progressive judgments when they're sitting on the bench, but can do otherwise in their daily lives?
You're saying our judges are a step behind society. You're saying judges today have shown themselves to be a step or several steps behind civil society.
I am saying we are most likely seeing a backlash for society having moved ahead.